Because everybody is blaming the current suffering on Tinubu. And to me, I find that a little weird because the fuel subsidy was removed by the previous government before it was handed over to Tinubu. This 17 billion for the legislature was done by the previous government, budgeted for. There was no budget for subsidy, but there was budget for the legislature. It was not done by Tinubu. So everybody blaming the current crisis on Tinubu seems to be a bit worrying. So I'm saying, what would Peter Obi have done differently? That because I believe that whether it's Atiku, whether it's Obi or Tinubu, at least the first 3 months in office will be almost identical, because whatever they want to do is a long-term plan. You cannot, it's not that you have 2 cars, you say, hey, don't put fuel in this car, put in this car. Government is not like that. Oh. If you go Abuja, I'm just coming back from Abuja, if you see the parastatals where they there, police or army or customs, so you understand that you cannot solve Nigeria's problem in 10 years, let alone in 1 month. So over to Bongolee, let Brume start first, because Brume wanted to come the other time. So Brume, over to you.
Brume, before that, how you doing now, my brother? How everything now?
I'm fine.
I see your video. When I go to the video concert,
Of course. Anything Nigerian, I'm there.
Nigerian. Respectfully, I don't pay my money go watch me. I don't pay my money go watch them. Me na Femi Kuti or Sheon Kuti. I dey beg them. I beg if they feel come Houston, please. Femi Kuti, Sheon Kuti. Let's watch Omade. Let's watch live Afrobeat.
I attend all their shows. I did even see me had a show in a small, very tiny place. I go for all of them.
See me they live for Houston. See me they live for Houston.
No. It was I think she was just passing through and she did something for the fans, but I was there. Whenever I hear that a Nigerian artist is here, if I'm free, I go. Because the thing is, these guys, they enjoy so much support from the foreigners here, right? And I'm like, why would they enjoy so much support from foreigners and I, Nigerian, will not go for the show? And our tickets are price cheap. People here pay $800, $900 to go for Beyonce, Drake, and co. Davido, they charge like, less than a quarter of that for their shows, right? So I think it's only fair that we show them the support.
I agree with your sentiment, and I also hope that, like the Femi Kuti, Sheon Kuti, and Madi Kuti, because of they do the real Afrobeat. And for them also, they sell their tickets on where you now go and buy a Davido, a Whiskey, or a Burna Boy ticket now. On I forgot the name of these platforms. That's where they do it.
I want guys for tiredness.
Please, we need to fraternize. We need to fraternize before we go to the battle of the day. We need to smile, and then we start fighting ourselves.
I know you respect each other. So let's just hear it. It's not fight. Please, let's not use insulting words on one on the other.
No.
Let's point out our facts and let's deal with our facts. So we've got Brume on the left-hand corner in a 1 minute time limit. Oh, he's got the muscle and the brawn. Again, Bongolee, APC supporter, came all the way for the inauguration. Let us see who will win this very quick debate. So what would Peter Obi have done differently? That's the conversation. So Brume is a supporter of Peter Obi, Labour Party. He was part of the debate. And Bongolee is the leader of the APC representative party during the debate. So they are here. These are people that know politics. If they are talking politics, they're not born my mama will make it talk. Now quiet, I go quiet, they listen. They know it. Over to you guys. I don't quiet.
Okay. That if 1 minute is very short, sir.
No, 5 minutes.
I'll give it
2 minutes each. And the time is going now.
Even 5 minutes, that's extreme. Anyway, so hindsight is 2020, Daddy Freeze, right? I cannot tell you 100% what Peter Obi would have done differently from Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Why? Because Peter Obi has not been the president of Nigeria and he has not had to remove fuel subsidies. However, during the campaigns, all the candidates said they were going to remove subsidies. In fact, this subsidy thing has been on the table since Occupy Nigeria, was that 2011 or 2012? I remember going out to protest that time when the subsidies were taken away from petroleum prices, and price went from, I think, 87 to 145, and we almost burned down the entire country then, right? So this has been on the table since, and every single year, Nigeria has spent more and more on petroleum subsidies. So it was an unsustainable expense that was bound to go at some time, right? Now, the current president, he's not even the one that removed the subsidy, right? This removal came during Buhari's time, okay? Just that, during the inauguration, I think the way he said it, he had not even finished making the statement, and the marketers already began to hike prices and cause scarcity, right? So, I want to make this submission that in Nigeria, sometimes the people of Nigeria are the problem of Nigerians, because the petroleum marketers, the filling station in Agoiwoye or the filling station in Efron Wari is not owned by Bola Ahmed Tinubu or Peter Obi. It's owned by a fellow Nigerian who hears an announcement and decides to hike the price of the petroleum, which he bought at the old price. So sometimes, we need to remove the president from the equation and look at our fellow Nigerians and ask, why are we wicked to ourselves? Now, in terms of how Peter Obi would have approached the matter, I feel, being the kind of person he is, he would have taken a gradual phased approach. Maybe take away 50%, then the next 25%, then the full thing, right? Maybe, in 6 months or more, he would have had that talk to stakeholders, the petroleum marketers, the unions, the people, gone around engaging people and trying to get the buy-in of the population before taking out the subsidy. For me, I'm not even worried about the taking away of the subsidy, right? It is how the savings that we gain from the subsidies are used, right? Now, we see the efforts of the current government to provide palliatives for Nigerians, which is commendable, because generally speaking, the average Nigerian doesn't get much from the Nigerian government. There's no free healthcare. We don't have any, homes for the homeless. We don't have any programs that take care of the less vulnerable in society. So the petroleum subsidy was the one thing that the government did for Nigerians that helped us to cushion the effect of hard lives. Because let's face it, our lives today depend, I would say, 70% on energy. You drive your cars with petroleum that you buy from the filling station. You power your house with petroleum. For those that have businesses, you can't depend on the power grid. You have to buy diesel. So the moment you increase the price of fuel, it has an effect on the price of food. It has an effect on the cost of school fees. It has an effect on every single thing, that is tied to petroleum products, which today happens to be almost the entire Nigeria. So I feel like Peter Obi would have done a phased approach, consulted with stakeholders and tried to get the buy-in of people, even though no matter what, people would have still complained no matter what he did, because taking out the subsidy would have resulted in increasing the cost of everything. Okay?
Just
a
quick sub-question, because I don't want to interrupt you. The subsidy was removed by the previous government. The only thing we can fault Bola Tinubu was the way he announced it. But whether we wanted to deal with it or not, there was no subsidy for Peter Obi to work with for June. It does not exist. He can't take money from somewhere. He doesn't have that in a democracy. He cannot just go and say, okay, we'll take this money, and he will still have to fight it. So explain to me how Obi will have cushioned the hardship for the month of June without there being any subsidy for it and him not getting into trouble with the people.
So this debate is not about winning, right? Let's establish that fact.
Do you know why I like you?
There is no way that the free.
You know politics. These people watching
don't
know politics. So they are making assumptions. I'm not saying Peter Obi is a bad candidate, but you see, the problems we have now, any government in power would have been, whether it's Showore, well, there's no magic any of them could have done within the first 1 year. The only thing Peter Obi would have done differently is because he has the youths love him. So it'd be like, yeah, even if we are suffering, at least we love the guy that is there. Beyond that, which is a sentiment, I don't see what he could have done.
Yeah. So what I think he could have done, right, is talk and show the people the reason why taking out the subsidy could be beneficial in the long term. If there were things that the previous government had budgeted for, like, for example, buying buses, or if there were, you know how last time the last government brought about the Shopee and they, gave bus, like they took out the subsidy and they gave something in return, right? Even when they did that, people were not still satisfied. So the problem is that the average person is looking at the immediate effect. You take out the subsidy now, I have to fill my tank, which I filled for 8K before, for maybe 15 or 16,000, right? It is that suffering that brings about, all of the crying and the shouting and the pushback that the current government is getting. But I say, if Peter Obi had taken away the subsidy in the month of June, in that same month, I don't think any government would have been able to do anything except transfer, I don't know, 100K to everybody's account, which is not even possible, right? So whether it's Peter Obi or Atiku Abubakar or Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the effect would have been almost the same across board. However, this is July, right? The only time we can actually really criticize the government is after waiting for a period. Let's give them 6 months, right? In 6 months' time, if we don't see any movement in the price of petroleum or any difference in all the other, affected areas, transportation, cost of goods, or alternative energy. For example, if the government says we've taken away subsidy, but hey, we have very subsidized solar panels. So if your main expense was in petrol for your generators, now we have solar panels at what, 30%. So invest in solar now and save X amount that you would have used to buy petrol next year by investing in solar and eliminating that cost, right? So for me, right, the major thing is the communication, right? It's just how it's like how two different managers will fire their employees. One could just wake up in the morning, call you on phone and say, hey, or you just come to the office and you can't log in, or somebody calls you and explains to you how the economy is bad, how they love you so much, but how they spent 5 days trying to reach this very difficult decision to let you go, but you are valued, and as soon as something comes, we'll call you back. You will take that letter, you will smile home and say, wow, these guys value me. I'm fired, but I still feel good. As opposed to how somebody else will handle the same firing, right? The person will go feeling like the worst employee in the world, right? So it's all about the communication and how you make the people perceive the problem, right? So I feel like the thing that Tinubu could have done differently was in handling the communication, because financially, subsidy had to go. Financially, there's nothing differently that anybody else could have done.
Thank you.
As of today, to change the effect of what is currently happening. Okay, the last thing I'll mention is the corruption and the transparency part, right? This is where I feel like there is a big difference between both of them. Okay, Peter Obi, they give shishi. So I believe, of course, he spent money during the elections. We can't dispute that fact. Those crowds, the logistics of moving around, they cost money, right? So definitely, getting into office, I don't know what the intention of each person will be, but we know that, from the looks of things, I cannot substantiate this claim, but we know that the APC spent a lot more money than the Labour Party. So they have a lot more, I would say, money to collect back, and the money has to be collected, right? And I need to tell you guys that money is collected all over the world. Anybody who spends money on an election has to get it back somehow. Anybody who supports you during an election has to get the money back somehow. So I feel like when it comes to the transparency part and handling of the money that will result from not spending on subsidies, honestly, I feel like Peter Obi will be a better person when it comes to the transparency and the corruption part, right? But I'll say something. I've learned a lot, debating Bongolee and Mustafa and these guys, right? And I've realized something. My new mantra is this: like, if I don't have evidence about something, then there is no need to talk about it, because, at the end of the day, I'll be just as bad as the person who is talking from sentiment. So if there is no concrete proof that something has happened or that something will happen, there's no need to talk about it like I know. I can only suggest and postulate and try to predict what I think will happen or happened, but I cannot say for a fact, right, exactly what would have happened if Mr. A did it. We can look at what Mr. B is doing and judge him in the future. So I will say, look, I don't know what is happening with the courts or who the president will be by April, May next year. But let us watch and see what happens, right? We can use time to judge. We can use the results to judge Bola Ahmed Tinubu if he's the president. If Peter Obi becomes the president, we're going to look at what he does and we're going to judge what he delivers at the end of the day, right? Because 5-6 years from now, we want to look back and see that Nigeria improved. For me, that's my main focus.
All right.
You know, I don't want to be arguing about people. My focus is Nigeria.
Before I hand over to Bongolee, sorry, time don't go. Before I hand over to Bongolee, so I want to make a few things clear. So you agree? I agree with you that Peter Obi will have managed the people better by communicating, and maybe because it's not a fact, it's a probability that he might have, or he might be less likely to handle corruption because he didn't have to spend as much as APC did. That is, I know Peter Obi is better at communicating, so definitely will have done the communication part better. But the hardship would have been exactly the same, 100%. Do you agree that with me?
The hardship, yes, I agree with you.
Good. Now, someone said, Brume, talk about the 800 million loan. So in one sentence, just talk about the 800 million naira loan. Then I hand over to Bongolee.
I really don't agree with that 800 billion naira loan, right? I feel like, you know, that's just putting Nigeria, you know, more and more into fiscal oblivion. Like, you know, we spent in 2022, I think it was 9.7 billion on subsidies. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the figure I remember, 9.7 billion on subsidies. That's what we spent, right? How we fund the subsidies is a different question. But I feel like, you know, the palliatives that this so-called 800 million is bringing, and by the way, there's talk about that not being a loan, but rather being a grant to help the people, right? But I feel like, you know, it's better to invest in capital projects that will generate jobs. You know, the people will suffer, but they'll be better off in the long run, right? Because even if you transfer 50K to everyone's account today, man, a ticket from Benin City to Lagos now is 15,000 naira. So really, you know, putting money in their accounts doesn't help. So I don't support taking a loan of 800 million to change to naira and share to Nigerians. I don't support that. However, I'm not an expert, so I cannot say what other solution the government should have brought about, except, you know, using the loan, if it's a loan, to invest in infrastructure somewhere. Of course, you can't benefit the entire country. Start from somewhere, build something that will provide jobs for more people, and then start working from there. The effects of that investment will trickle down to even the lowest person in the society. That's my point of view.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Before Bongolee talks, the 800 million was not gotten by Tinubu. They just got the money now. It has been in the pipeline for years. Let's also establish that. So I love the way Brume put it, and I agree with him 100%. What I need you listening to us, wherever you are listening from, is maybe Tinubu did not manage the way he presented the case. But it is like telling a woman, say, your husband don't buy you. Calling her on the phone. Hey, your husband don't buy. Or going home to tell her, please sit down, I want to talk to you. Have a glass of water. You know, sometimes God deals with us in very harsh ways. You know, and even if you are becoming a widow now, just know that the neighborhood will support you. It does not mean the husband will resurrect. The only difference is the way. So I want people to get into their heads that even if you had brought Jesus to come and rule Nigeria, as long as those parameters were the way they were, withdrawing of the subsidy by the previous government, approving 70 billion by the previous government, borrowing 800 million by the previous government, you will have gotten exactly the same result. Now, over a 1 year period, we can now see how good Peter Obi or Tinubu are at managing whatever resources and taking quick decisions on the spot to solve the crisis. But there has been a bottleneck already, and it was not caused by any of them. I want you to get that and register it. Over to you, Bongolee.
Firstly, Brume, I would like to appreciate you for how you've spoken, and you spoke constructively. And this is the kind of engagement that I would employ a lot of people to engage in, because we are not in a time of being emotional. We have to be rational. Now, I just wanted to make some corrections. Firstly, the $800 million loan has not been disbursed to Nigeria yet. Like Brume rightfully said, there's been some conversation as regards, is this supposed to be a loan or a grant? And Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, may take the government to court if it is being given as a loan, because you cannot borrow a loan or get a loan for consumption. It is against our constitution, the law of the land. Now, secondly, the money that they were going to share, the 8,000 naira for 12 million people, has been cancelled. That money was to be sourced from the 2022 appropriations budget, not 2023. There was an 819 billion naira that was in there. And President Tinubu said, I'm going to take 500 billion out of this. Now, remember, he went to the House of Rep, National House of Assembly, to get that money. And people need to understand that there are 3 tiers of government. And if you want to go and get that money as executive, legislature will say, we want our own. We want our own too. And you do not want to start your, your regime fighting with your National Assembly. It never works well. And then also, the judiciary said they're going to collect 35 billion. The judiciary said they're going to collect 35 billion. And the 185 billion, I've forgotten what it is meant for. Now, for the price of petroleum, taking out subsidy, I think the president did what he had said he was going to do. He had always said it in his campaign trail and in interviews and meetings that he's going to remove subsidy. And like Brume, you pointed out, you said, we Nigerians, the way we behave, that we are the chief exploiters of ourselves. If he had not said it, on that ground when he was being sworn in, a lot of things could have changed once it goes down. From that May 29 to the end of June, a lot will have gone down. And so what did you do? I'm removing it and I'll deal with whatever later. Nigeria was already spending 96% of its revenue on servicing debts already. So it's only 4% out of whatever money that Nigeria as a nation made that they were going to use for infrastructure, that they were going to use for Shwapi and all the trader money, that they were going to use to pay salaries, that they were going to use to fund budgets. So it had to go. When it comes to the dollar and the Forex situation, Nigeria's Forex reserves were dwindling already. And as such, we're like, we cannot keep on doing this round tripping and speculation. And as such, we have to just remove it and let the market forces determine. Now, we are seeing that in the I&E window is about 740 something, 750 something. But in the black market, the IA is 840, 850. Do you think you're just going to get rid of the black market people like that? They are not just going to go down without a fight. The oil marketers also, they are not just going to go down without a fight. They are not just going to go down without a fight. Now, you need to understand that what we are seeing is pressure from education, people that are going to go to school, people that want to japa. Also, you are seeing pressure from people that are going on summer vacation. You are seeing pressure from the regular import and export that people do. And then you are seeing pressure from the wicked hoarders, the edgers, those ones that just, that they are, see, that the frees and Nigerians that are listening to us, there are some people that are waiting with their naira to mop up any dollar that the federal government, the CBN, put into the market. They are waiting. So we Nigerians, inclusive of the government, have dollarized our economy. We need to de-dollarize our economy and stop spending and stop depending on the dollar inside of Nigeria. Now, people also should know that actually subsidy had been removed in August of 2021, the day that they passed the Petroleum Industrial Bill into an act. The former president just kept on paying subsidy, maybe out of his goodwill. So all this fight about subsidy should have been we tackling and fighting our reps before they passed that bill into law. And that PIB bill has been in the House for decades, and nobody has dared passed it. It was just the Buhari administration that passed it. Now, a lot of people are talking about increasing our earnings. Subsidy doesn't come with any savings, my brothers and sisters, because the money that they are saying, the money for subsidy was borrowed money. Brume, a point of correction, Nigeria was spending about 400 billion monthly on an average for subsidy. 400 billion.
Yeah, I said $9.7 billion last year.
Okay, 9.7 billion. Okay, well, we're spending. Okay, thank you. I thought I heard Naira, but okay.
No,
$9.7 billion. And people need to understand that it is a market force. It's a law of demand and supply. Right now, as we are speaking, a barrel of oil is $80. As the barrel of oil goes up, what we are going to pay goes up. It's going to be like the same system abroad. A lot of us are watching here from abroad. Abroad, you see that the prices go up. Now, for example, I don't know if people are aware, but the price of bread is about to go up in all around the world, because Russia just placed an embargo on Ukraine shipment of grains. And this happened, like they just did that 3 or 4 days ago. And in the last 3 days, the price of wheat has gone up by 15%. We Nigerians need to begin to pay attention to commodities, the pricing of commodities all around the world now. We need to start getting more educated, because wheat in Nigeria, for example, we import 99% of wheat. Because why I'm saying this is because so that tomorrow they don't say that it's President Tinubu that increased price of bread. It's President Tinubu that increased price of whatever we used to make wheat. That is our spaghetti and everything. Now, the Asiwaju administration has brought up what is called the Infrastructural Social Fund. Now, just in June alone, FIRS said that they made about 1.6 trillion naira. 1.6 trillion naira. And the federal allocation that they are going to share, they were supposed to share, was 1.9 trillion naira, almost 2 trillion. And they said, you know what, this is the highest in history. And they said, you know what, we'll just give the state governments 900, and we'll share it amongst ourselves, 900, and we'll keep about 900 and save it for all the programs we are doing. Now, Nigerians, this is a rallying cry. Begin to hold your reps, your governors, your state reps, your senators, and your councillors. Begin to hold them accountable and responsible. Guys, it is public information. Go to the National Bureau of Statistics and go and see how much was allocated to your local government. Go there now. National Bureau of Statistics, all the things that I will come, like Brume was saying, when we're doing debates and everything is on National Bureau of Statistics. Everything that I say is there. Go and type it there. You see how much they give your local government chairman. And now back to the gasoline thing and the pricing going up and all that. What Brume was trying to explain also is what's called cost push inflation. And then added with our speculation, the way we speculate in the country. This is the last post I will leave with so that Ada can talk or Daddy Freeze can take charge. Now, somebody posted something. They moved the price of, people say the government has increased price. Guys, wake up from the slumber of being ruled by military. This is no longer military regime. This is no longer a military regime. This is a federalism. And NNPC is a private organization. Private organization. NNPC is not a government organization. They are also in competition with other oil marketers. And as such, when they increase the pricing by 100 naira or something like that, transportation increased by, people increasing their prices by 200 naira, 300 naira. How did we do the mathematical calculations? Is it not our gross exploitation of our people? I would leave it here for now, but lastly, guys, if President Tinubu did not remove the fuel subsidy and did not remove, what's it called, this Forex thing and all of that stuff, and unify the Forex market and all of that, guys, what happened in Sri Lanka will happen in Nigeria last year. What happened? And maybe when I have the opportunity, I will explain what happened and how it could have really, really affected us. You see, this place that we are in, it will be times 10 if these things didn't get into where it's supposed to get into, because Nigeria has no money. Nigeria is a poor country. I say it any day, anytime. We don't have money. We are poor. No money anywhere. Thank you very much.
All right, Ada, over to you. Ada was typing something, so I wanted to say, Ada said that it is important that if Peter Obi had been in power, he would not have removed the subsidy so swiftly. Ada?
I feel so.
Okay.
Or maybe deliberations.
That there is the only different thing Peter Obi could have done is the way he removed it. But he had to remove it exactly that time. If not, he would have had to use his personal money to pay.
The way he removed it, and then 2 months in power, you're now incurring more debts. You're not taking loan that you were not asked to take, because from the fuel subsidy removal, money was raised. Wait, money was raised, yeah, from the fuel subsidy removal, over 400, how much? And then the next month, you're now incurring how many billions for vulnerable people?
My sister, please hold on. I'm sorry for cutting short. That is a misinformation. Money was not raised from the removal of fuel subsidy because we were borrowing the money to pay for subsidy in the first place. Secondly, the loan was already being pushed by the Buhari administration, not the Ashwaju administration.
We totally get it, yeah, that was what happened. But then why are you now incurring more debt? It's the concern.
No, do you understand? But okay, Ada, see, there are only two ways a government can raise money. You can raise money through taxes, increasing taxes, or getting a loan. Getting a loan is not a bad thing, but it is borrowing a loan to invest in things that will become assets and not liabilities. Is investing in things that will not just be for consumption, but for production. That is it here. And Brume, you can add one or two things here, so it's not like I'm going about anything with what she just you know.
No, I've been listening. Yeah, I've been listening. I was just having a private chat with Daddy Freeze, but right now I have to go off because I need to be on air now.
Okay, no problem.
And by the way, there's part of my face. I did my facials. Yeah, bye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah. So I just want to point something out, you know, and I think for the first time in history, you know, I think I am in agreement with Bongolee, right? Because
Bongolee was very respectful.
The 800 million, right? You know, so it takes a long time to get a loan. You know, I think, you know, people feel like you just go to the World Bank and say, "Give me money," and they just throw it at you. You know, like if you living abroad, put some things in perspective, right? It takes a long time to get a loan, get it approved, get it paid, disburse it. and begin to start to utilize it. And sometimes the loans are even supervised, right? But, you know, when we see it is when, you know, all the back end, I call it the back end work has been done, and the executive submits ask the the legislature for approval. That's when we begin to see it and shout and make noise, right? But for me, there is no problem taking a loan. We that live abroad here, it took some reconditioning to accept that, not all debt is bad. Sometimes to live in a house, you need to be in debt. None of us has $1 million to buy a house. So we have to borrow money. We borrow the $1 million and we start to pay it back in bits. And it takes a long time to get that money approved. But it's not necessarily bad debt, okay? It's only bad when you borrow for consumption. If I borrow that $1 million to go and buy a Rolls Royce to be like Drake, that's when it's bad, and that's why Bongolee is talking about, Femi Falana, right? Possibly taking the government to court because they're borrowing money for consumption. Normally, you borrow for infrastructure. That's the basis on which those loans are approved. And technically speaking, oil subsidy is a form of infrastructure, right? If you think about it, because like I said before, the government does not really do anything for Nigerians, right? This is the only way they can contribute. But even then, because of the way things have gone in the past few years, remember I said the problem of Nigerians is Nigerians, okay? There was a time when our production went down to below 800,000 barrels per day. Whose fault was that? Not the federal government. It was our fellow Nigerians who were vandalizing oil infrastructure. The oil companies don't vandalize their infrastructure. The NNPC doesn't bust pipelines. It is Nigerians who caused that drop in production, right? A drop in production results in a drop in revenue. How do you balance it out? You have to go and take a loan, right? The companies that you work for, when they want to pay salaries, if there is no cash flow, they go to the bank and take a loan to pay your salary. And they show the bank, their books and say, hey, we're going to pay you back this money at X or Y time, right? So I don't want us to focus too much on the fact that a loan was taken. Nigeria will continue taking loans tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Any president will take loans. The discussion should be, what is the loan being used for and how will it be used responsibly? I think that's what it should be, because whether we like it or not, we have to take these loans, right?
Brume,
Until such a time.
Brume,
yeah,
please give me 30 seconds. You still continue with what you're saying, but I want to support what you're saying. In 2022, yes, we're rounding up. Yes. This is very important. I want Nigerians to
finish your 1 minute. Bongolee, over to you, 1 minute. I'm tired. They get
okay, Daddy, please. Thank you very much. When we talk about, I want Nigerians to hear me very well on this. In 2022, Nigeria exported total goods 26.8 trillion naira. In that same year, 2022, Nigeria imported goods worth 25.6 trillion naira. Now, this is where it gets very scary, Daddy Freeze, and everyone listening to us. Do you know that 77% of this 26.8 was just crude oil? So if we take out crude oil from Nigeria, now I want to show how unproductive we are, in quotes, as a country. If you take out 78% out of that 26.8, it leaves us with about 6.8 trillion. So we now have a deficit, trade deficit, balance of trade of over 20 trillion naira, Daddy Freeze, and everyone listening to me. So it shows how dependent we are on importation. And as such, for you to get the country into being productive, you have to address security, the infrastructure. Infrastructure doesn't come easy. You borrow money. You need to get people to come and invest. Also, you need the right policies, to put the right policies in place, because Daddy Freeze, let nobody deceive anybody here. We are under the guidance and tutelage of the Western world. IMF and World Bank are saying, if you want us to take care of you, you need to do the things we say you should do. Don't let anybody tell you about BRICS or anything here. Then we talk about regulations, and we talk about, closing out that multiple
100%.
But let's
just exhausted.
That's
I've been talking for the last 3 hours.
Brume, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me do this another time. Brume.
Let me round up. Let me round up as well.
And see,
yes.
Chigos, Bongolee, where is the renewed hope now? Bros, fear God now. Chigos, your IQ is so subliminally low that if they pumped air into your head, you would become a hot weather balloon. So please, just keep quiet. Keep quiet. If your IQ is low, when day we are talking about who they date, who they sleep with, to come. Politics, you don't talk. Just keep quiet and go. Yeah, Brume, finish off. 1 minute, I'm timing you.
So, yeah. So I don't agree with many of the things that the current government is doing, right? I'm assuming that, for example, the money that's been approved to buy cars for, and not just the national, because we focus too much on the National Assembly. What of all these state assemblies? They're all going to be buying the same Lexus GX 470 for all of those representatives. So, like I said, the problem of Nigerians is Nigerians, right? We keep talking about federal government, right? We need to look very close, look close to the ground, because the problem is everywhere. Now, if we gather all this money and go and place orders with Innocent, right? What's going to happen? Innocent will struggle initially to meet the orders, but what will happen is they have to struggle to buy materials, both from local suppliers abroad. The bottom line is that, the money will be kept in Nigeria and trickle down to, the entire value chain. That's one, right? Two, I feel like the communication with the oil subsidy removal could have been handled better, right? There's always the reality, but a good leader is able to communicate well with his people and make them see things from the perspective that they want them to see it. The reason why there's so much dissent is that the communication wasn't handled properly. So everybody's shouting, screaming, and crying. Like all the candidates said during their campaigns, they would all have removed the subsidy, right? And from what I'm seeing, what I understand is that it was already removed. So talking about even a phased approach may not have happened, but the communication, talking to your people, communicating with them, getting their buy-in is what would have made the difference, because the suffering has been there. The suffering will be there for a while.
We'll do this another time.
You have to call us back. When we need my
We'll do this another time.
Oh yeah, Bongolee. Your own round up. Hello.
Okay, well, my own is very, very simple and easy. I just want Nigerians to understand that Rome wasn't built in a day. Nobody on this platform will buy a land today, get the permits, get everything, and build the house and get it furnished all in the same day. It takes time. These things are painful, are going to be painful. Nigeria for years, we've been living above our means as a country, as citizens. We've been living above our means. This is just our true reality that we are seeing today. Since the 70s and the 80s, they've been subsidizing almost everything for us in the country. And as such, a lot of things that needs to be put in place have not been put in place. And lastly, let us reduce let us control how we birth children. We don't have enough resources to go around. In 1960, we were 45 million population. The UK was 55 million. In year 2020, Nigeria's population is 200 million. UK population is 65 million. Where are we going to get the resources to satisfy these people? See, this is what is going to happen, like what happens in the Western world. In the Western world, people have less children because things are more expensive. So as things are getting more expensive now, let's see people having more children. Go and be having your 5, 6, 7 children as usual now. There's no subsidy. Even education-wise now, you see what's happening in education? It just came out today. Unilag, 16,000 naira for a Unilag certificate, 16,000 naira per year. They are going to remove all of that. All the old subsidies around is going to be removed. Let us pay it for what it is. That the phrase, we'll do this another time. Thank you very much.
God bless you, Bongolee. God bless you, Brume. Thank you for your wisdom. The reason I'm so glad today, because I need the people to calm down. The last thing we need right now is an uproar. Let the people not go and be scattering everywhere and say, the government is making hardship for them. Listen, Nigeria is going to go through a phase. Let us brace ourselves. Bongolee is right. In 1960, the UK was 55 million. Romania was 18 million. Nigeria was 45 million. Today, the UK from 55 went to 65. Romania from 18 went to 19. Nigeria went from 45 to 221. Nigeria is almost times 3 Romania and England combined. It is ridiculous. It is unsustainable.
That the freeze, talking about the population of Nigeria, right? You know, if you have time and if you have the bandwidth one day, you know, bring some data scientists to talk about the increase in population, right? Because I've been talking to some people who have knowledge in the area and whose parents have worked in the Nigerian Population Commission, right? And there is no explanation for the explosive population growth that we see on paper in Nigeria. But that's a discussion